a wonderful girl, and the sweetest one in town.
Hello, my darlings. Hello, my lovelies. I'm back. I'm back in my proper place. You probably noticed that I did not put a video out last week. I did make the decision to just relax and enjoy my time with my family, which was really lovely. I really did enjoy it actually, and I didn't want to be faffing with filming and things. I just wanted to have a lovely time. I wear so many hats when I'm in Scotland because I'm mum, I'm sister, I'm daughter, I'm friend. So, I had lots of people to catch up with, and it was just absolutely lovely. I spent a lovely time with my mum and dad, and lovely time with my sister, lovely time with my daughter, and her flatmate, who is adorable. So yeah, I had a really lovely break. A week, is probably not long enough, but it is long enough when you don't keep well, because that's a lot of socialising that I'm not used to, which I find tiring. So it's now Saturday. We flew home on Wednesday, and I have had to have a couple of days in bed because I was quite done. I was quite done in when I got back. So I had 2 days completely in bed. Yesterday I got up and pottered about a little bit. And today I'm feeling considerably more human. I mean, human enough to put my makeup on and do my hair. So, considerably more human. So that's good. So this week we're just going to take it a little bit easy. I've not got any grand plans for this week. Before I go on to this week, let me show you what I was working on while I was up in Scotland, because you know me, I've got to be doing a little bit of crafting. I can't just sit and do nothing. So when I was in Scotland, I had taken some crafting projects with me. So let me show you what I was working on. So the week before I went away, I had finished this little cardigan. The wool was in my stash. It's just acrylic. It's nothing special. Very plain cardigan, just this little bit of detail on the shoulder. And so I wanted it a bit oversized, so it's a bit oversized. I'm delighted with it, and I put some pockets on it, and then I thought it's very plain, I need a bit of something, so I did some embroidery. So this is what I was doing while I was away. I took the cardigan up, actually I wore the cardigan to get up there, and I took my tapestry threads, and I have not done any embroidery since I was a child, so I was really, so I just did this little bit of embroidery on the pockets. Really delighted. So I've got some French knots down here like moss, and I don't even mean some undesignated flower type weed type things, and some little mushrooms. So I haven't decided if I'm finished yet. I think I've got a space there. I think I might put a little butterfly there. And I think it's one of those cardigans that I might just keep adding to it as I feel like it. But I am so absolutely flipping delighted with how it's turned out. I mean, look at it, it's so cute. And the colour palette goes so well with everything in my wardrobe. You know what I'm like. I like my warm colours. So all I still have to do is put buttons on. So I've got, go off to the side here. I have looked out some buttons because the buttonholes are actually quite small. I've only got 4 buttonholes. So I've got these little red wooden buttons that I'm going to pop on, and I think that'll just look quite cute. So that's one of the jobs I've got to finish this week, is popping my little buttons on this cardigan. But as I say, I'm absolutely delighted with it. So once it's got its buttons on, I will pop that on me and show you a full proper reveal. But my little bit of my foray into embroidery has been quite successful, I think. So that was what I did when I was up in Scotland, which I'm delighted with. This week, now, I don't know about you, but I don't tend to have you alright, you settled? coach moving about in the background.
I'm not making that much.
You're not, but
it's
it's just people are aware of it, so you know.
It's home noise.
It's just, you know, I'm in the living room, people are living around me. It is what it is. Yes, so this week, I don't know about you, but I don't have like a winter wardrobe and a summer wardrobe. I tend to just wear everything all year round and layer up in the winter.
Is that not normal?
Well, you know, some people have like a separate winter wardrobe that they pack away in summer and then they change it out, and some people like to do it that way.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, my big bulky woolly jumpers I tend to pack away in the summer because, you know, I'm not going to wear my big bulky woolly jumpers in the winter. But I will wear my dresses all year round and just layer them up with tops underneath and tights and a cardigan. So I don't really fully change out my wardrobe. However, what I did do the other day, before I went away, I had been thinking about this, and I've got a few things in my wardrobe that I love but don't reach for on a regular basis, and the reason I don't reach for them is because they need just like a little tiny alteration. They just need a little thing that would, you know, and I am perfectly capable of making those little tiny alterations and make them more wearable for me. So let's have a look at I've just identified 4 things to start with that I just need a little tweak, and I will reach for them much more. So I'll show you them. Let's show you them. So I had identified that these 2 dresses I absolutely love, but I don't reach for them because they don't have pockets. So some pockets in, and then I think I'll wear them all the time. So these 2 have to get pockets in. This I talked about before. I'm going to open up this front seam and put buttonholes in and turn it into a coat. And this is a shirt that I got from my dad when I was up, not this time but the last time, and I love it, but I think I would wear it more if I cropped it sort of to waist length. Because it's a man's shirt, it comes back in and it's a little tight on the hips. So I love the size at the top. It's slightly oversized at the top, but it wasn't oversized at the hips. So I think I would get more wear out of it if I cropped it and wore it like a little jacket. So that's what I'm going to do with this little shirt. So that's what I've got to be going on with this week. Just altering these couple of things to make them much more go-to things in my wardrobe. So that's what I'm going to be working on quietly this week. As I say, nothing too taxing, nothing too major. A couple of pairs of pockets, cropping down that shirt and opening up that dress and making it into a coat. So that's nice and easy, straightforward. Obviously in the background I'm always knitting. So in the background at the moment I have this going on. Before I went away, once I'd finished knitting the cardigan, I knew I was going to do the embroidery up in Scotland, so I hadn't started the embroidery. I started on this little Fair Isle vest. The pattern is a sweater or a cardigan, but I don't have enough yarn for the sleeves. But I'm just using up, I had a whole load of balls of sock yarn, but just single balls. So I thought a little Fair Isle vest would use them up nicely. So I made a good start on that. So that's what I'm working on with the knitting at the moment. I changed the pattern to, because Fair Isle is much easier knitting the round, because it's easier just to keep knitting with the 2 colours than knitting purl. I don't know, I can't explain it, but I just find it easier. So I changed the pattern so I'm knitting in the round, and then when it comes to the armholes and things, I'm going to try steeking it, which I've never done before, which is quite exciting, and I will make sure I try and film the process so that you can see if I get it right or if I get it badly wrong. So that's what I'm, that's what's on the back burner at the minute. Which I'm quite excited about, this little Fair Isle vest. I think it's going to be really cute. I like the colours, and I think I'm in my sweater vest era which is a strange thing to say, but I think that's where I am at the minute, because Cornwall doesn't get terribly cold. So I don't always need a full-on jumper. Like, this is like short-sleeved. I don't always need a full-on jumper, but sometimes I just need a little bit something. So the little vests have been proving excellent. However, whilst I'm in amongst doing that Fair Isle vest, the other night when we got home from Scotland, Annie said to me, I want some nice squishy woolly socks. I was like, oh, do you? She said, could you knit me some nice squishy woolly socks? So I had in my stash this, it's called Sirdar Crofter DK, and it claims to be like a Fair Isle effect, but I think the sock pattern is too small to get the full Fair Isle effect. But it's still a nice sort of self-patterning yarn, which is really pretty. So I made this start on... Actually, I started this yesterday, so this is how much I managed to get done yesterday afternoon, because I was just sitting with my feet up all afternoon. So I've made a start on a pair of socks for Annie. So I put the Fair Isle vest to the side just now, because this, I mean, this is how far I got yesterday. These are not going to take me long. A couple of days and I'll have her socks done. I have 2 balls of this. I don't know how much it'll take, but I've got plenty. And because her feet are considerably bigger than mine, I have tiny feet. She has normal sized human feet. And this is like loose and slouchy because it's like a boot sock. So like this bit slouches down like a boot sock, and then it had, you know, like the foot. So that's what I'm going to be working on in my sitting down quiet with my feet up periods over the next few days. So we've got a fair few things going on, but nothing overly exciting or taxing. So that's what we're getting up to this week. That's how we're using our spoons quite carefully, because we're still a little bit tired from travel, and we're just easing ourselves back into things carefully, not overdoing things. That's the plan. I mean, you know me, I will probably change my plan and start overdoing things at some point in the week, but the plan is at this point not to do that. Let's see how it goes. Of course, I put these clothes down on the table to show you what I was going to work on, and the second I turned my back, they gained a cat. Albia, you seem to be sitting on my clothes, darling. So I've got one over here watching progress. So while she sits there, I'm going to go and find some remnants of fabric to cut my pockets out. So I always keep bits and pieces of fabric around, and I had this little bit in my stash that's not really big enough for anything. Occasionally I thought about making cushions, but it's got a seam down it. I can't even remember where it came from, because I've never made anything with it. I don't know if someone gave me it or if I picked it up in a thrift shop. Can't remember. Anyway, there's certainly enough of it to make 2 pairs of pockets. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make 2 nice pairs of cheerful pockets, because you'll not see them inside. And I always like, you know, a little fun bit of something inside, you know, that only I know about. It just makes me smile. So I need, obviously for 2 pockets in each dress, I need 4 of each pocket. So I went and looked out one of my dress patterns and used the pocket piece from that. As usual, it's not big enough. None of them, you know, no pattern ever gives you a big enough pocket pattern, let's face it. So I got out the pocket pattern to use as a sort of starting point, a jumping off point, if you will. And then I will make it a little bigger from there, so that, you know, it fits my phone in it. Because, like, look, the size of that, if I put my phone in that, it would just fall out. It's got to be a bit longer so that your phone doesn't fall out when you sit down. You know, this is obvious. Why is this not obvious to everyone? So this is the first pair. I'm actually doing the 2 pairs of pockets slightly different shapes, because the dresses are slightly different. One's like an empire waist dress and one's got a waistband, which I'll show you as we go along, is slightly changing the way that I'm putting the pockets in. And they're also the different fabrications of the dress. One of them's a lighter weight than the other. So there's my 2 little sets of pockets ready, cut out. But that's all I really felt up to at that point, I have to admit. So I went and sat down and did some knitting. The next day, we start on dress 1. So I'm going to take those pockets. In fact, I'm just going to prepare all the pockets at the same time. And I'm overlocking the edge seam and pressing it back, ready to be sewn into the putting in a pocket when something's already made is quite different from putting in a pocket as you go along, and it's just a little bit more fiddly. So I was trying to think of the best way to do it from a fiddly point of view, but I don't think this was necessarily the best way. I decided to overlock the pockets together so that I made the complete pocket before I put it into the dresses, and it worked up to a point. It was a little bit more fiddly, I think, than it needed to be, but it did work. And also it just meant that all the edges were nice and finished before I put it in, which was handy. So would I do it this way again? I don't know, maybe, but yeah, it did the job. It did the job. There's my little pocket. So the first dress I'm going to open up. Now this had the seam was overlocked together, so I had to undo the overlocking first to get in, and it didn't have very much seam allowance to play with. The original dress, if you're at all interested, I got it second hand, but it's from Joe Brown's. So it's a nice dress from a nice company. But yeah, it's quite, I've had it a long time and it was already second hand when I got it. So, goodness only knows where you would find one. But there you go, it's a Joe Brown's dress. So once I had opened up the side seam to the size of the pocket that I wanted, and I just double checked that I had the sizing correct and I had made a big enough opening. Now, because the dress has waistband, I quite like my pockets quite high up. I think I like them higher than most people do, but I started the pocket really more or less straight under the waistband, because that's where I like the opening of my pocket to be. And I decided that I was going to top stitch the pocket in. So I popped the pocket inside the dress and from the right side pinned it together so that I would just top stitch that down. Now, I completely forgot to actually show you me top stitching it in because, who remembers to film all the time? But I did finish off the little, there was a couple of little bits that I couldn't quite reach to with the machine. So I finished them off by hand and made sure everything was nice and secure by hand so that, the seams weren't going to continue opening up from where I'd unpicked them. And then I did my little trick with some ribbon, which is actually, interestingly enough, a little Victorian trick that I learned from watching other costuming YouTubers, where I get a little bit of ribbon and I stitch it to the seam allowance in the waistband. There's not much seam allowance available in the waistband, but there was enough so that my stitches can't be seen on the other side. So I just need a little tiny bit, stitch it into the seam allowance in the waistband, and then I'll stitch it to the top of the pocket with a little bit of give in it, not too tight, but just a little bit of give in it. And what that does is gives just that little bit extra support, because this dress is a lighter weight fabric, and if I put my phone in my pocket it would just pull a bit on the side seam, and I didn't, wanted to protect it. So by doing this little ribbon to the waistband, it just gives it that little bit more stability, so that when I put my phone in my pocket, it's also, it's pulling on the waistband as well as the side seam, dispersing the weight a little bit, making it a little bit more secure. Okay, so the next day, because that's all I felt like doing that day, the next day we went on to dress number 2. Now, as I said, this dress, incidentally, another second-hand dress from a company called Sea Salt Cornwall, which is a company I absolutely love. But again, I've had this dress for many, many years. I've had it for at least 8 years. If not longer, and it was secondhand when I got it. But it is and it's one of these ones that's been in the donate pile so many times because I don't reach for it, but actually I really, really love it. So I know that putting pockets in it is just going to make me reach for it all the time. So because it's an empire waist, I had to make sure I'd measured down the right amount from the empire waist, because I didn't want the pocket openings right up at the empire waist. I wanted them, below my natural waist. So I had to measure down, and then I remembered that this dress has a zip, because it's slight. I actually very rarely use the zip because it goes on over my head, but I had forgotten that it had a zip, which makes things a little bit more complicated, but still doable, still very doable. Also, at this point, I would like to take a second to big up Sea Salt Cornwall. When I turned this dress inside out, the finishing was beautiful. It was French seamed. The apart from at the zip where it was overlocked, there was a little tab put on the end of the zip so the zip didn't scrape your skin, and the finishes were absolutely gorgeous in this dress. I was actually really impressed. Did it make it more difficult for me to open up and put pockets in? Yes. So what I would say is, Sea Salt Cornwall, your finishing is excellent. I'm incredibly impressed. However, why didn't you just put pockets in it in the first place? That would really have been a better option. So I will try and explain what I'm doing with the putting the pocket into the zip. So what I did was I undid the front portion of the zip. So the zip is still attached completely to the back of the dress, but at the front of the dress I detached a bit of the zip at the bottom where the pocket needed to be. And then attaching the back of the pocket, which would normally be attached to the back of the dress, but instead of attaching it to the back of the dress, I'm attaching it to the zip, and there's a little bit after the zip which is at the back of the dress. So that's where I'm attaching the back piece of the pocket to the zip and the back of the dress. I know that sounds really complicated, but it's really difficult to explain, but it's not actually that difficult to do. So I changed over to my zipper foot, and I'm going to sew that down the side. I'm going to sew down the side of the zipper, really close to the zipper, just like putting in an invisible zipper, but instead of it being attached to the back of the dress, it's attached to the back of the pocket at this point. And then also, there's a little bit after the zip where the pocket's still going on, and that is attached to the back of the dress. But it means that the zip is going down behind the pocket, which is how you would put pockets into a skirt with a side zip. You would attach the pocket to the zip. It sounds very complicated, but trust me, it's really not. Also, keep getting my head in the way again, and I'm filming slightly off out of the camera, which is stunning of me, so professional. You'd think I'd have learned by now. And then the other side, the front side of the pocket, just gets attached to the front side of the dress as completely normal, as you would expect. And I did, instead of top stitching this in like I did with the other dress, I did this in the seam allowances from the wrong side, as you would normally do if you were putting the pockets in from scratch as you were making the dress. So there we have it. That's the zip in there attached to the pocket. Don't know if you can see that, but it's sitting lovely and neatly, no problem at all, and the zip is still completely usable. I've got a little pucker there, so I'm actually going to open, just undo that little bit and neaten up that little pucker, and also from the inside just sew a tiny bit at the top and bottom of the pocket closed, just to make sure everything's nice and secure, and it's all met back up with the lovely French seam that Sea Salt Cornwall had already given me. And now we're going to do a shirt alteration. So I started the same day I sort of tried on the shirt, but actually didn't get much further because I was way too tired. So I'm trying to decide how short I want it. I wanted it to finish at around about my waist. Couldn't decide if I wanted that last button in or not. In the end, I lose that last button, but actually it's fine because it's better shorter. I'm much happier with it shorter. For some reason, I was finding this unnecessarily difficult to put pins in the shirt without pinning it to my dress. I kept pinning it to my dress or stabbing myself. I was obviously getting too tired. When I laid it all out flat on the table, I made sure everything was sitting nice and smooth so that I could just cut the back and the front at the same time. You'll notice that the pins are all at completely different levels. So what I decided to do was kind of take an average of them all. So I closed that button up to make sure that everything's sitting exactly right, so that the fronts are even once I've cut it. And then I use my ruler to kind of take an average point across in between all those pins. And yet, actually, spoiler alert, I'm really pleased with where this ended up. It's pretty much the perfect length. But I'll mark that across with a ballpoint pen because I couldn't be bothered rummaging for my tailor's chalk. Now this I'm actually quite impressed with. When I measured down from the armpit to the line that I'd drawn, it was exactly right, exactly the same at each side. I'm really pleased with that. I thought I'd straightened up the ruler perfectly, and I had. Just doing so well. And then we'll just cut that straight across front and back. I also decided just to take the cuffs off the sleeves because I wanted the sleeves a bit wider and I felt that I would just hem the sleeves, and I'm glad I did that because I think it sits better. Now, as usual, my little rascal is just sitting on the ironing board, chilling, and she does not care what I'm doing behind her. Really does not care. I mean, could I potentially use the whole of the ironing board and find what I was doing easier? Yes. Does she care about that? Absolutely not. So I'm just going to work round her because she's too cute. She's too cute to be annoyed with. So I'm just going to work round her and we'll all be fine. I mean, she doesn't even care with the steam. I really, yep. So I'm just going to do a little double fold hem. So I did the first fold about, I don't know, not quite half an inch, and then the second fold about an inch. And I'm just completely eyeballing it, to be honest. I did, however, have to shift air off the ironing board eventually because I wanted to use my little sleeve board for hemming the sleeves. So I kicked her off the ironing board. But don't worry, she gets her own back, because while I was merrily pressing and making sure everything was lovely and even on my sleeves, she jumped up on the stool beside me where I had the open packet of pins, flipped the cushion off the stool, which catapulted the open box of pins across the living room floor and scattered them absolutely everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. So we had to sweep the whole living room floor, and then I had to spend about half an hour picking pins out of the fluff and dust that also got swept up from the living room floor. So she well and truly got her own back for getting thrown off the ironing board. So let that be a lesson to me, just leave her be. Let sitting cats sit. So the next day I came back and just top stitched those hems. Then I take my wee doohickey off the sewing machine so that I can hem the sleeves as well, and I'm just top stitching them as well. So now, that's all I managed to get done this week. It's reveal time. So the first dress, this Jo Brown's dress, my pockets are sitting lovely. I'm really pleased with them. Look at the little cheeky little bit of colour in there. Isn't that cute? And I am definitely going to wear this dress much, much more because I loved it anyway. I wore it anyway, but it just annoyed me that it didn't have pockets. Now I'll be reaching for it all the time, particularly in the summer. But yeah, and the little sea salt Cornwall dress, I'm so pleased with how that's sitting with the zip and everything. I'm actually quite proud of myself. You might be able to tell I'm quite proud of myself because that's sitting really well considering how fiddly it was to get in. I've just styled that up with a shirt underneath to wear it a bit like a pinafore, and I'm also, for a little bit of extra warmth, wearing some leggings under it just to keep my wee legs warm. What I did realise when I was styling this up is I don't have a cream cardigan. I'm going to have to knit myself a cream cardigan, but I think it still looks quite cute with this orange one. And finally the little shirt, which I'm also absolutely delighted with. I think I'll wear it so much more like this. I think it's really cute like this. So as I say, that's all I got to this week. I didn't manage to get to the other dress, but we'll get to that at a later date. I was quite tired, so I was trying to take it nice and easy. And I think that's it from me this week. So as usual, I want to hear what you guys have been up to. I want to know what's bringing you joy this week. What fun are you having? It's been a 2-week break, so you've had even more time to do fun stuff. So what fun stuff did you do in that 2-week break since I last spoke to you? And yes, the cat is going nuts in the background trying to chase insects, I think. Little rascal. She does love to be out and about. I hope that you and your loved ones are safe and well. I will speak to you next week. Love from Liz.
Sweetest one in town, can search for miles around, and no one like me can be found. I've got a smile, a wonderful smile, and a certain